As you can see with our torque bar activated Autofacer, it's larger, but for good reason. Since we are using direct contact to open and close the blade, it's much more reliable. So this is going to be key when it comes to larger quantity runs, larger production volumes, as well as if you're dealing with expensive parts that you see in aerospace, such as. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this tool out of the torque bar driver so we can get a better look at the tool itself. To take the Autofacer out of the torque bar driver, there's a taper lock set screw in the side of the driver where if you take this out, you'll notice that the Autofacer should slide right out. This is what we call an AF6 connection. I'm going to move the torque bar driver out of the way. And now when we look at this, you'll notice that it looks very similar to the other tools we've taken apart. Just like the other tools, first thing we're going to do when we start disassembling the tool, we're going to remove the shear pin, which should fall out the bottom of the tool. And again, this shear pin is there so that if this blade does not close for whatever reason, that this pin is going to shear, your shank is going to stay in your torque bar driver while your tool is going to stay in your part. This is a great system because now we are not damaging our tool, we are not damaging your part, and with the quick replacement of the shear pin, we can have the tool back up and running for minimal cost to you. From here, what we're going to do is we're going to remove our retaining ring that holds our spring. That spring is there to keep all pressure together on that clutch as it works off of friction. To remove the retaining ring, I like to take a small dowel and just pop it off. Again, be sure that your thumb is capturing that spring so when you take that retaining ring off, it doesn't fly off the tool and go missing. We're going to remove our spring and then take our clutch apart. This clutch will look a little bit different than the ones you've seen. It has a couple more parts to it. So starting from the shank end of the tool, you'll notice we have a bearing pack. That bearing pack, you have our part here, and then this part of the activator. It's called a drum retainer. This drum retainer is to hold our bearing surface on there. It's all supposed to slide. Here's our friction ring. This is our bearing surface. You'll notice on here as well that there's a grease fitting. Consult your operating instructions as to how often you should be greasing the tool. Again, on the inside of the clutch, it starts looking a lot like a flywheel activated tool. We have our stop screw to capture our activating rod, as well as our activator here, which actually, when you transfer a rotation, this is what opens and closes the blade. Again, very simple system. We're just transferring rotation. There's not a lot that can go wrong here. We're going to take our Allen wrench, back out our stop screw, and then being a rear loaded activating rod, it should slide right out the back of the tool. You'll notice on the activating rod that again we have a male tang. This is to sit in the female tang on our pivot pin, which I'll show you a little bit later. And this is what transfers the rotation. We remove our activator. You'll notice a bearing pack on the front of this. You'll notice roll pins pressed into the activator in order to turn our activating rod. From here, it should be very simple to remove your rotary pilot. Again, the rotary pilot's very important as this is what we use to support the tool in the cut. We use your bore to put the cutting pressure back into your part so we can reach far down into a part and still be supported. From here, what we have left to do is we have to back out our set screw on our master holder. And then our pivot pin should slide out and our master holder should fall out. So you'll see here we have a fully disassembled torque bar activated Autofacer. Again, very simple. You'll notice on our pivot pin that we have our female tang that will align with the male tang on our activating rod. As well as you'll notice that there are flats in the pivot pin that are 180 degrees apart from each other. This flat is there so we can locate our set screw on our master holder onto that flat. It's very important that we get this orientation correct so that we can be sure that the blade is fully open or fully closed when it needs to be. To reassemble our Autofacer, we're going to do the same thing we just did to disassemble it, only in reverse. We're going to take our bronze pilot, load it onto the tool, take our activator, we're going to take our bearing pack and load that in the activator, just as such. It's going to load on the tool as well. From here, we're going to take our activating rod, slide this in the back of the tool. Be sure the activating rod is seated in our activating rod slot. We're going to take our stop screw to capture the activating rod, and we're going to re-thread this in. From here, we're going to take our friction ring, put it on our drum, and then assemble. Now this assembly here should slide right on the back of the tool. Everything should seat together very nicely. Everything should be very smooth. Now from here, we're going to reload our bearing pack on the back of the tool. You'll see a recess, so our bearing pack should sit flush. From here, we're going to put our spring back on. Take our retaining ring and reassemble that. You should feel the retaining ring sit down into a snap ring groove on the tool itself. Things should feel very smooth. You shouldn't feel any hang-ups. From here, we're going to reload our shank on the end of the tool, line it up with the shear pin hole. It should be very simple to drop our shear pin in there. Grab the shank end of the tool and you should double check, make sure everything activates very smoothly. We know we got it back together correctly. Last but not least, we have to install our master holder so we have something to cut with. We're going to load it in the pocket of the tool. We're going to line up the holes with the end of the tool so we can drop our pivot pin all the way through. You're going to want to make sure that pivot pin seats with the male tang on the activating rod, so you might have to rotate it until you feel it sit down in. One thing you'll notice is on the pivot pin, we have a groove on the end of it. We want to make sure that that groove, when it's seated correctly, it's going to sit flush with the end of the tool. It's a nice visual way of knowing that, yes, the pivot pin is seated correctly. Now, to make sure our master holder is affixed to the right orientation on our pivot pin, what we're going to do is we're going to open the clutch all the way, and then we're going to turn it back about 1/8 of a turn. From here, we're going to take our thumb and we're going to open the blade all the way and then tighten down our set screw. Once we tighten that all the way, we're going to back it off a hair, grab the end of our pivot pin, and you should feel that pivot pin wobble. Now you should feel the set screw on the master holder catching the ends of the flat just like you would on a regular side lock end mill holder. That's how we can confirm that we're orientated correctly. From there, we're going to tighten down the set screw again and just double check one last time to make sure that the tool opens and closes correctly. Making sure that this closes all the way against the button head cap screw in the pocket, as well as when it's open, we want to be sure that the blade is opened all the way against the flat of the pocket. And that's disassembling and assembling a torque bar driven Autofacer. I'd like to thank you for joining us today on our Steiner Autofacer trading video for the torque bar activated Autofacer. I'm Tyler Nolan again, your head Steiner sales representative. If you'd like more information on our product line, please visit us at the web at www.steinertechnologies.com or give us a call directly at 888-327-1949. Thanks again.